Okay, just check whether the clicker is working. The PPT to be there up on. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know how many of you would recall last year we had introduced a very interesting AI tool. From the beginning, if suppose you would have been tracking what we've been introducing and what's our mission. In fact, when we invited Joe and he was gracious to come from America, it was very important that the topic that he was explaining to build that trust, and we are in this era where AI is there is academic excellence that each and every education institute has to manage. And yes, everything has to tailor so that industry gets that manpower. And probably if you have heard me while we were building up, everyone in an academia builds up to get that 10 on 10 in academics. Eventually, if that 10 on 10 does not work 10 on 10 for the industry, probably you, me, everyone who are sitting here, somewhere or the other, we have to think that why this does not happen. In fact, if you have heard the interesting panels that we had, Dilip was talking about that innovation. While we want nation first, but the nation can only come first if at all innovation come first. But somewhere or the other, we figured out that these all are happening in silos, and this is where we wanted to have something very interesting built up. And last year, in fact, we launched a very interesting tool. And before that, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce over here, we have a student, entrepreneur, a project leader, and Divyam is going to introduce his interesting journey, and he's going to explain what he's doing. Everyone who are here, as a student, what he has gone through and what he has created would be interesting for all of you that we are doing here at Education World, and we're going to introducing you something very exciting. Over to you, Divyam.
Thank you everyone for being present here. Firstly, good evening everyone. Today I'll be sharing my personal story when I was pursuing my bachelor's. So what exactly I have been through and how I found a solution in Get Set to Work. So I'm a professional cricketer, and during my bachelor's, I used to be on ground majority of the times. And whenever there were few instances when I went to college, when I attended lectures, and when I actually tried to learn something, I was taught everything which is conceptually correct. I was taught everything that is, data driven. I was taught how to, how does this concept work? How does the industry work? But there was never a chance given to me to apply those concepts in real life. The missing link that I found during my tenure, pursuing my bachelor's was I was never given an opportunity to think beyond classroom. Never an opportunity to apply those concepts that I've taught in class. Here is where Get Set to Work was born, and that's the gap that you see on the screen. Students learn, but they struggle to apply because there is no mechanism over here. By the virtue of scale and by the virtue of population India has, it becomes difficult for anyone, any faculty to deal with a student one-on-one and train them. And the verbal training is the missing link that we have found. Verbal training is very important for everyone, and that's where we'll be going through how the solution is meant.
Okay, so this is where the industry challenges with fresh graduates happen. And we're going to solve this step by step. If you agree that there are communication gap, the next gap that is going to be there is poor application. The next which is coming up is the weak problem solving, and eventually the low ownership. And let me tell you, and Divyam, you have shared me this example. See, we have students coming up and presenting, and I think so, if you've heard Joe in the morning, there were a lot of this polish presentation, polish resumes that people painted, considering saying, I'll be absorbed in the industry. And one of the instances which Divyam explained while he was in the class, that the guy had prepared excellent presentation, okay? This presentation were having a lot of slides. Largely while he was explaining, he couldn't connect with the real world. What used to happen was, if at all a chance that this child was supposed to be getting in the industry, he just scribbled and told, sorry, I don't have industry exposure. But he is actually planning his whole project and slides that we had made where probably he wanted to prove that something like this can work. But step by step, if you see, there were communication gaps, And obviously, as Divyam was mentioning, eventually all your 10 on 10 in academics, if they are not communicated by verbal ability, it could be in your interviews, it could be in your vivas, things go fail, which leads to poor application of knowledge. At the same time, there are problem solvers that we are seeking in. Just throw one scenario to a student in middle of the presentation and they'll say, sorry, I'm not exposed to this. And which actually leads to something which is very important, that students do not take the ownership. And this is where the classroom success really does not culminate into a career success. And that's what data proves. 50% of the graduates, they don't feel like it. Look, they are ready. Am I right, Divyam?
Yes.
Okay, let's go to the next and you explain us that how can really this application comes from practice, which is the key thing, and hope you have remembered in the morning, there was enough which Joe had emphasized that while you are going to have explanation, there is practice and evidence, which is what Divyam is going to share now.
To everyone present here in the room, there's a big question to everyone, all the universities and institutes. Is verbal training given equal importance in today's time? And I being one of the students previously, I graduated last year, and that was the link that I was telling about. That's the missing link. Verbal training requires one-on-one attention. It requires a faculty to sit with a student, take questions, give them the evaluation and the feedback, which is humanly not possible with the scale India has. That's where we have come up with Get Set to Work. Get Set to Work gives everyone an opportunity to practice real time, where AI can guide a student along with faculty's input, where faculty can give them real assignments to perform, real scenarios to perform. So over here on Get Set to Work, it is application that comes with quality practice. Only mugging up concepts or applying them just for the sake of applying is not where learning happens. And over here, as you see, practice without feedback is equal to repeating mistakes. And feedback without consistency is no improvement at all. We need something which is scalable. We need something which gives dedicated feedback to each personalized individual studying in the class. And that's where Get Set to Work comes in.
And that's the reason we are what we repeatedly do excellence. Then it is not an act, but an habit. I think so every one of us who are here, we also would have done various things that we wish that if we repeat, then only you get on to excellence. And this is where, from the morning till now, our mission has been, and every time when Education World has taken up any kind of mission to intersect wherever innovation or gaps that we want to fill it between academia and industry, we try to collaborate and we try to give some solution to the sector and in academics. Moving on, that's very important in the next slide that we want to show, that what makes a student stand out. Now we are all here again. You have IITs of the world, you have the IIMs of the world, you have all industry who's ready to go to hire. It's not that India does not have job, or the worldwide they do not want to have students working for them. But we have certain problems which are not addressed by way of academics, or they get directly addressed by way of an assessment. One of the most important aspects is confidence under pressure. Now what happens? Do you think that you should have confidence with you when you are going to be a job ready? It's very important. Like currently we are on a tight deadline. Me and my team have to show to the entire academic fraternity that come what may, we have participation from more than 200 cities. But we work under pressure just to prove, saying when you're going to, you have seen us, our team is here, they maintain composure and make sound decisions. Most importantly, do you have the ability to have practical problem solving? And effective communication. See, it's very important that any kind of ideas that you are having, you're going to put it on the paper, but most effectively, if you can't communicate effectively, and probably at Education World, if you have heard and if you have read Dilip's editorial, till the time you are not an effective communicator, probably whatever your degrees are not going to really matter, right? And that leads to anywhere a clear thinking is needed. Maybe you are under pressure, maybe you are really solving the problems, But if you do not have clear thinking, you cannot really spearhead the organization. And that's where, now what we wanted to present in the next slide is we have brought in the most important aspect at what does the real execution looks like. Because the crux is in execution. Anything and everything that we are discussing, I mean, maybe you want to revamp the curriculum, you want to have this Viksit Bharat dream come true. We wanted our roads also tomorrow to be really as good as China or America, but if tomorrow we are not going to have execution good, there is a problem. And that's where last year we had presented Get Set to Work, and this is what we are going to move the needle ahead, and that's where the next slide, which is the AI preparedness, Get Set to Work does. Divyam, you want to explain this?
Yeah. So on Get Set to Work, AI act as faculty's assistant. AI does everything that faculty wants herself or himself to do. AI performs at scale. AI gives individualized feedback to everyone, every student in the class according to their expertise. Over here, AI can generate and simulate actual scenarios, which every individual will face when they walk into any workforce that they are joining. AI will evaluate their responses, give them training, and also give report cards that faculty requires. So over here, what Get Set to Work will do is the time spent on just asking questions, getting the evaluation done will now be transiting towards mentoring those students. That will help achieve everyone in every institution in this room a clear output of where they want their students to be.
And that's where from practice to performance, fully automated, and most importantly, it gives you scale. It saves your faculty time. It saves student time. It gives real scenarios where every student in multiple of the aspect, they can perform at their own time, and they can really connect with what industry wants. And this is where before, in fact, many of over here are progressive institutes who are already user. I'm really thankful to everyone who has accepted our pilots and they are going through. But I want to show a very quick video of a student who's learning through this AI Get Set to Work. A quick video, please.
So the video is of a salary negotiation that a student will take.
Hey, how are you doing?
I am doing great. How about you?
So I see you are considering our HR manager offer at EY in Punjab. I will act as the hiring manager here. You have seen the details. What are your thoughts on the offer?
Firstly, I would like to thank you for selecting me. I am really glad to be part of EY. However, I had just some little concerns regarding the compensation. As I understand, my fixed component is of 8 lakhs. I was hoping if the fixed could be moved from 8 lakhs to 9 lakhs. Would that be possible?
I see where you are coming from. 9 as a fixed does stretch our standard range a bit for this level. Can you share more on why you feel that increase is important for you?
As I mentioned that I am a fresher and I'll be transitioning from Maharashtra to Punjab. So this transition is going to be a little difficult for me. And having this fixed from 8 to 9 lakh would really ease things up from my end.
All right, I understand relocation has its challenges. We do try to help with allowances, but changing the fixed component is tricky, especially for fresh hires. Is there a particular expense or concern you are most worried about during your move?
It's just the relocation, the flight tickets, the stay, the rent, the deposit, all of these things.
I get that it adds up quickly. Would it help if we offered a one-time relocation support instead of changing the annual fixed component? What do you think?
Yeah, maybe a joining bonus of around 1.5 lakhs. That would really help me out.
A joining bonus could be possible, though we usually keep it limited. Let me check. If we can offer a joining bonus, would you be comfortable keeping the fixed at 8 and using this bonus to cover your initial costs?
Yes, that would be lovely.
All right, I will take this feedback to my team and see what flexibility we have around a joining bonus for you. If the bonus is approved, are you ready to proceed with the rest of the offer as it stands?
Yes, most certainly I am.
Perfect. Thanks for being open about your needs. Is there anything else you want to discuss before we move forward?
No, that would be all. I am just really looking forward to joining EY.
All right, let us pause here and talk through how that went. You did a great job expressing gratitude and showing excitement about the role. Your tone was polite and you explained your concerns clearly, especially about relocation expenses. One thing you managed well was explaining why you needed extra support instead of just making a demand. That helps create empathy and keeps the conversation positive. For improvement, you could have been a bit more specific about your relocation costs. Breaking down a couple of big expenses gives the other side more to work with and makes the case stronger. Next time, you might say something like, the deposit for housing alone is quite high, plus flights, so a one-time joining bonus would really help cover those. That kind of detail is persuasive. If you sense resistance on a salary bump, be quick to propose alternatives, like you did by pivoting to a joining bonus. That's a strong tactical move in negotiations. Overall, exploring non-salary levers, such as bonuses, allowances, or specific supports, can often bridge a gap when fixed salary is firm. That's the feedback.
And that's where you see currently a negotiation skill was going on. And if you have heard, this student of a progressive university is trying to take a mock interview with AI, that is Get Set to Work. And what you saw was on a negotiation skill, this student is conversing with AI. And this is where the AI is giving feedback, what could be the better answer, how that articulation of that answer could have happened. And then detailed score sheet, just go back. There is a detailed score sheet that after each of the conversation, student and faculty gets to know. Just go to the back slide on that video we had. If you had seen, there were parameters no, on the video. On the video, there was a scorecard. So each of the sessions, you will have a scorecard that how did this student fare. And this helps a faculty and a student to know that how they can improve, because a detailed feedback is what AI is giving. Ladies and gentlemen, you have a tent card on your round table. This is where we are making this movement happen, where institutes who are joining, their students are getting advantage to have that verbal ability, fluency, and the entire analysis done, where you are aiming for 10 on 10. And this is where, say, objection handling, negotiation tactics, communication and clarity, value creation and win-win thinking. These are what the parameters industry is looking at. Primarily, you may have a good subject matter expertise, but tomorrow, if these are the abilities not being judged, probably that student career readiness does not happen. And that's where you have seen the best of the academic result really do not cultivate into career readiness or the best job opportunity, because they have not practiced or they do not know their strength. And faculties probably, when they go to the placement cell, they would say that I have done my job to teach a subject, but for whatever reason, placement says that while they converse with industry, they are not able to connect. And this is a personalized assistant for faculties that is developed, and for students who can really take help at unlimited moment, midnight. We have got stories where a mother is calling Divyam and telling, saying, what has happened to my child in midnight? We hear some noise of computer talking. Is he all right? But the child who was shy in the classroom really to express himself is not able to talk, and that particular skill set is obtaining from Get Set to Work. So ladies and gentlemen, you have this tent and you have this QR code. You can scan it, you can inquire, and we'll make it happen, where at scale you can have all your university students at one go have this verbal communication and ability to be judged. And finally, last time when we started, we are not from a tech background company. We are a mission-led company. And that's where, when we wanted to make education as the #1 item on national agenda, before that we want to see the youth of India, the demographic dividend that we talk about. We want to unlock that India's demographic dividend into career-ready talent. And I'm thankful, thank you to each and every 34 plus institutions, 16,000 students, and we are scaling day by day, and the transformation is underway. Please, it's time for every institution in this room to step in and do the best. And I think so we are all committed to really the Viksit Bharat vision. Thank you very much for having this presentation patiently. Thank you, Divyam. Thank you very much.
Thank you everyone.